Well, hello, and welcome to Alcohol, Drugs, and Us. I'm excited, folks. I'm excited about tonight, what will be discussed. We're going to talk about I blacked out and I passed out. My name is Joseph McCray. I'm a registered nurse in the field of addiction treatment. And this is a YouTube, it's a Facebook, it's a podcast. It's a show where myself and my wife, we talk about alcohol and drugs. We talk about alcohol and drugs, and we try to help you be able to navigate this thing called life and life without alcohol and drugs. And so I got a really important topic that I want to share tonight, and I want to just kind of play around on this phone right here and just do some sharing, just share with some folks that I think um, might really get something out of this talk tonight. And so let me share this broadcast here. So tonight we want to talk about I passed out, I blacked out, and what was that all about, right? What was that all about? And so I want to thank you for tuning in. And please do jump in with questions, comments. I'm opening myself up tonight. I'm not afraid. I'm okay with sharing my testimony about what alcohol did to me. And so it starts out at age 16, and I was curious. See, sometimes people say they drank because genetics, or they say because they're friends, peer pressure, all that kind of stuff, and that is possible. But I got drunk because I just wanted to know what does drunk look like. What does it feel like? And so I had some great friends who we all hung together on the weekends, and we would have our occasional drink. But the big part of what we would do is play a lot of spades. We play a lot of spades. So this one night, we were together hanging out, but I just had this curiosity to get drunk, folks. And so I had my beer, I had my Bacardi rum, and I just kept guzzling down, just kept guzzling down all of this alcohol, and with the hopes that I would get to you know feeling really tipsy and all that kind of stuff. Well, guess what? After I did all that drinking, the next thing I remember was waking up on a sofa and hearing a wash machine running, and turning to uh, my friend, and I said, "What is that noise?" And he said, "You vomited in my tennis shoes." And I'm getting my tennis shoes washed. And he wasn't happy at all about it. But what was amazing about that experience was that he recorded it, folks. He grabbed a tape recorder and he let me listen to it. And in the middle of that, um, my speech was slurred. I almost spoke like somebody demonically possessed, okay? And just in saying that, just reminded me, Father, I just thank you for this talk. Someone's life is blessed in Jesus' name. And I sounded demonic, folks. My speech was slurred. I was talking all these inappropriate things, and people were in the room and they were laughing. There were children, they were cracking up. Um, but when the morning came, I had no recollection. And so that's what happens in a blackout. It is drinking quickly within like a 2 hour period of time, or drinking on an empty stomach, uh, and you get your alcohol level up to what's called 0.16, or 16% of alcohol in your body. So we know that the number 0.08 is legally intoxicated. So now you have double that in about a 2 hour period of time. You have consumed a lot of alcohol. So that's anywhere from like uh, 10 beers, uh, uh, half a gallon, I mean, not half gallon, but like a pint of gin can get your level up that high, especially if you're a novice, if you haven't been drinking. Now, some people who have a tolerance, it may not really move their alcohol level at all. But for me, I was a novice. I was just um, curious to get drunk. And in that blackout, I was just so inappropriate. And I asked my best friend, I said, "What made you grab an audio tape? What made you grab a tape recorder?" And he said, "Watching me was just so embarrassing to see me just act like a fool." I mean, I was out of my mind. And what happens in a blackout is that your brain, the hippocampus of your brain, is not able to take short term memory and move it to long term memory. So you don't store memory. Things are happening. You're active. You're doing things. There's stories of people driving places. There's stories of people being taken advantage of sexually. All kind of things can happen in a blackout because you're not totally aware of what you're doing. Okay, the alcohol has consumed, and it is now affecting your brain to the point where you're very what we call disinhibited. You're sort of like free, and in that freedom, sometimes people get into fights. Uh, it can get really nasty, can really go left. But I used to always talk about having a blackout. But you know what? Also, I realized I actually passed out too, because when he said I vomited in his tennis shoes, that meant I went to sleep. And so now my alcohol level continued to rise, folks. Continue to rise, uh, probably as high as 0.2, 0.25, 20%, 25% alcohol in my body as a 16-year-old, okay? And now the body went unconscious. Folks, that's what happens in a passing out. You go unconscious. And some people have gone unconscious. Their gag reflex is not strong, and they vomit and they choke off of their own vomit. Okay, that's what can happen in a passing out. So you can black out, you're active, you're doing things, you're acting out, you're saying things, you're inappropriate, but you're active, okay? But as the alcohol level is increasing, you now go into a loss of consciousness, okay? And that loss of consciousness can cause you to vomit, cause you to choke off your vomit, but can also increase to the point of alcohol poisoning. You're getting levels now of 0.3 and higher, and you're getting into alcohol poisoning, which can now shut down breathing, can also cause changes in your heart rhythm. So this is serious about alcohol, and this happens in some colleges. This happens, people trying to outdrink each other, all that kind of stuff, and your passing out could be alcohol poisoning and could also lead to death. Okay, so I'm very fortunate to have blacked out, passed out, and survived. I'm very fortunate, and so fortunate that I'm here telling you all about it. And you say, well, why are you telling this story, Joe? I'm telling this story, folks, because alcohol is just that toxic. It's just that dangerous, okay? That you could drink, lose your judgment, forget how many drinks you've had, overdrink, get your alcohol level up to 0.16 or 16% of alcohol in your body, now cause you to be saying and doing things and acting out in sometimes dangerous ways, to the point where you come out of it and then you have no recollection of what you've done. You can further go into a passing out stage where you fall off to sleep. And sometimes people let people sleep it off, but that's pretty dangerous because you have no idea what their alcohol level is and just how dangerous that could be. So You do want to keep people set up, or you do want to sort of turn them to their side if you are going to let them sleep at all, and just kind of closely watch them. Sometimes it may even be worth calling the ambulance, because you just don't know if they have developed an alcohol poisoning to the point where they may be slipping into a coma or even death. So this is very real. This can happen with young people, happen with myself at 16, it happened with college folks. And just wanted to just kind of take a moment and just share that with you. I blacked out, I passed out. So when it's so funny, when I read the textbooks about blacking out and passing out, it it was absolutely what I did. I mean, they could put my picture in the textbook, you know. Um, it woke me up, folks. The tape recording, listening to it, I was embarrassed as well. My best friend was embarrassed, but I was embarrassed too, to the point where I never felt the challenge to do that again. You see that? I wasn't this daredevil anymore. I didn't want to, like, ooh, let me see what drunk is like. I didn't want to do that. I learned quickly that alcohol is not to be played with, that it can seriously change your life forever. And so I never got drunk again. I never got drunk again. And I thank God for that. And I thank God for um, what He has done as far as taking me through the path of my life and allowing me to be able to be in the field to help people with addiction, with treatment, and to be able to tell the story. I shared this story with my patients yesterday, and with the hope that they could hear that alcohol is a dangerous substance. It's a dangerous substance. A number of people are dying, somewhere in a number of like 170 some thousand people yearly now, as a result of the impact COVID had on treatment and people isolating. Okay, so the numbers used to be around 90,000 a year, and now we're looking at almost twice that amount. So, my message to you is that alcohol is very serious. Do stop and think about what it is you're doing. Do make some telephone calls. Um, I was just reading a questionnaire, and it says if you have to ask yourself, do I have a problem? You probably have a problem. You know, you probably have a problem. So, uh, take these words that I've shared, and hopefully that you will take it and put it into some good use. You probably know somebody who's struggling. You probably maybe have family, you know, people you love that are struggling. And you sometimes a lot of people say, well, what can I do, Joe? You know, where could I go? There are groups. There's one group that I mention all the time, and that's Al-Anon, AL-ANON. And I got some time. I can just type that in for you, because families really suffer with trying to figure out where to go. So this is a good group that'll help you understand. Your local church is great. They may have some ministry there to kind of speak to you. Of course, the Word of God is always there to minister to you, but sometimes you might need something more specific. Uh, in our city of Baltimore, you can call 637-1900. Um, this is Baltimore Health Systems. This is a place that can connect you to treatment. Even if you don't want to dial all those numbers, you can just dial 988 and find some treatment near you. Um, but just coming back to the topic of I blacked out, I passed out, and like I said, for the longest time, I always used to focus on the blacking out part, but I actually passed out too. The alcohol continued to increase. The only organ in your body that will sober you up, folks, is your liver. And if you drink faster than the liver can process and metabolize and break down alcohol, you're going to get drunk. Okay, you're just going to get drunk. And the liver can work as hard as it can, but it can't work any harder than sort of processing like an average drink. That's a 10, 12 ounce beer, uh, 5 ounce glass of wine, a 1.5 ounce of gin, vodka, um, per hour. That's about all the liver can do. And if you drink faster than that, it's got its work cut out for it, okay? To try to get that alcohol all out of you and sober you up. And so, serious stuff that can happen with you, blacking out, passing out, can be deadly, can be very um, life threatening. Sometimes people come out with some really bad stories from it. And I just shared with you my testimony, how I survived, how I had a friend who had the wherewithal to say, "Give me a recording tape. Give me a tape recorder." He didn't do it for the mere benefit to laugh about it later. He did it for the mere concern. He just had a genuine concern that this is not good. Like, seeing him act this way is not good. And I'm so glad he taped it, because if he had told me I did those things, I probably would not have believed him. And who knows, I might have continued down that road of addiction to alcohol. But God was there, His angel was there, rescued me, delivered me, said, "No, Joe, this is not the way to go." And now He's brought me into the field of addiction treatment, where I get to do it 40 hours a week. I get to do it on the side as a business, and I also get to do it as ministry, folks. This is ministry. This is ministry. It's YouTube, it's Facebook, it's podcasting, but it's still ministry, because it's still touching the lives of people, and I'm just so happy to be able to do that. And so I just want to make myself available, folks. I just wanted to say, hey, I'm here. This is what I do, but I just don't do it because, you know, oh, I can make a couple of dollars, but I do it because I personally was touched by alcohol. I personally had my life changed as a result of alcohol. And I really was in a place where I could have lost my life as a young person. Okay. I really could have. But thanks be to God, I'm here. I'm alive and I'm well, and I'm gonna tell people about alcohol. I'm not gonna be shy. I'm gonna tell them until I can't tell them anymore, and then I'm gonna leave a couple little notes for them, a couple little, ways where they could find out even more about it. These videos will be out there forever and ever and ever. And I want to thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your time. If there's a question or comment, I'll stay on for a little while to hear you. If you type something in, oh, something just came in. Let's see what we got here. So Patricia said, "How do you reach the younger generation? What is the youngest age you help turn their life around?" That's a good one, Patricia. I don't do a lot of work with youth. Um, when I first started out with my business, I did go to juvenile bookings and gave some talks there. But somehow, I'm just not the one that connects with the youth. I just haven't found my message is to the people who are young, or teens. My audiences are more people who are in the throes of addiction and their family members. Uh, that's who I've identified, who I'm called to. But there is a lot of work being done to try to help teens. There are organizations like the National Institute of Drug Abuse. They do a lot of teen outreach. There is the NIAA, the National Institute of Alcoholism and Alcohol Abuse. They do a lot of work, and you can always search to see what they're doing in the area, or if they could come to your particular community center or church and things like that. I'm sure there are people that do that. Um, but my group of people are probably as young as 18, 19, 20. Some people I get in treatment who are young adults. I got a gentleman now in treatment who he's wrestling with the idea that he doesn't really think that his alcohol and marijuana use is that bad, and he kind of feels like he's going to go right back and continue drinking. He hasn't heard anything convincing, but just recently I was sharing, and he learned that for each drink, each average drink is will take your alcohol level up to 0.01 to 0.02. He didn't know that, and so if you consume about 4 beers or 5 beers, you can easily get yourself up to uh, zero point zero 0.08. So maybe I made some headway with him. So that's the best I got for you, Miss Patricia. Christopher said, "Was that the time you drank alcohol when you had a blackout?" Yeah, that was the time. That was a teenage. I was a teenager. That was I almost want to say it was around Christmas time. I remember it. Um, yeah, I almost want to say either Christmas Eve or a couple of days before that. But yeah, that was the time. Trisha said, "Keep being a blessing and of service to those you reach. It is needed in the world today. Mental health is affiliated with alcohol and drugs. Thank you for your service." Real talk. Yeah, yeah. Appreciate those words, Patricia. Um, it is so needed. It is so needed, and I think that I'll just keep plugging at it. I'll keep plugging at it. Maybe some other folks will come on board, and there are people out there championing the cause as well. So you never know like who you're going to touch. I never know like who this video or podcast will get to, and so I just try to be consistent and try to put together something that will touch people. We'll plant a seed at least, maybe even water it, and hopefully God will give the increase in their life and get them on the right road. I appreciate those words. Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, yeah. So uh, blacking out, passing out, very real, very real. It happens. It definitely happens. Uh, and so you want to be careful, whoever you are that watch this. You want to be careful with alcohol. Um, if you can avoid it, do it. If you never started it, don't. I told my son that genes have a role in if people will be addicted. And I said, well, you'll never have to find out if your genes or your chemical makeup has an attraction to alcohol if you never try it. Like you won't even have to worry about that connection because you just never tried it. And so he just got kind of quiet about it. He's a teenager, he's 14. But I tell him, just don't experiment. And people who are out there drinking, thinking like, it's okay. Many times people will minimize, they will um, be in denial. That's the big word I wanted. They're in denial that they really do have a problem. And one thing you got to keep in mind is problems come in degrees. So sometimes people have a little problem that becomes a moderate problem that becomes a severe problem. Nobody ever becomes an alcoholic overnight. It's a process. Nobody ever becomes a half a gallon drinker. They were a pint drinker, a half a pint drinker, and they progressed. They had tolerance. Their brain adapted to what they were drinking and caused them not to feel the effects of it when they drank that amount. So they end up having to drink more. And so that's why people never get back to their original high, their original enjoyment they first experienced, because the brain is always trying to safeguard us. It's always trying to adjust chemicals and make it so that we don't really get the kind of enjoyment from drugs and alcohol because it knows that it's not good to be in the body. the brain knows that drugs and alcohol are not good to be in the body. Okay, folks. I got another question. He says, when you get an opportunity, check your message. Okay, sure will, Patricia. Thank you. Appreciate it. So yeah, folks. So your brain is adjusting. It's trying to make you safe. It's trying to keep you out of harm's way. That's what tolerance is all about. That's what tolerance is. It's a brain adjustment. People who can drink a lot more, it's because they've been drinking for a long time, and now they have had adjustments made over the years that they have to have a lot more in order to actually feel the alcohol or feel the drugs. Okay, and that's a dangerous place to get to when you develop tolerance. Okay, I'm just gonna take a minute here, just throw this commercial in here just for a second. Oh, all right, I'm back. Yeah, so we got a little timer thing going on with the camera, so they wanted to go to black. Like, what happened? So yeah. So tolerance can develop with long and steady drinking, and it's just serious. It's just serious. But people can find freedom. People do find freedom. People do escape the bondage of alcoholism. Nowadays, we use the term alcohol use disorder. But I want you really to get that there are levels, there are degrees of severity. There's a mild degree of dysfunction, there's moderate, there's severe dysfunction. And so you can't throw everybody in one bowl and say, well, everyone is severe. Well, some people say, well, I go to work. Oh, I'm in school. There are levels of how much alcohol can impact a person, okay? So I know I shifted a little bit away from the blackout passing out thing, but this is for somebody who wants to say, I'm okay, I go to work, I'm in school, I'm doing all right. Yeah, but if someone else assess you, someone close to you assess you, what would they say about you? What kind of things would they write down? Would would they say, well, you're not doing as well as you could? That's the thing. You're not doing as well as you could because something is hindering you, hampering you, preventing you. And you may be drinking because you're depressed. You may be drinking because you're lonely. You may be drinking because you feel like alcohol is your friend. Like you can't have a better friend. When you're lonely, when you're tired, alcohol is there. Christopher says, "What is surprising effect?" He says, "What is a surprising effect alcohol has on the liver?" So liver is incredible. It is the one organ that will regenerate. You can cut off a quarter of it, 2/3 of it. You can give it to a child who has some kind of liver abnormality. You can grow in that child, and it will grow back in you. But the liver and alcohol have a really strange relationship. So you can drink and you can eat food, and the liver will try to break down alcohol before it tries to break down food. And people get what's called fatty livers. So they get these fatty livers irritating to the liver. And then when they keep drinking faster than the liver can break down alcohol, the alcohol itself becomes toxic to the liver cells. So, two ways the liver is damaged by alcohol. One, it breaks down alcohol first and causes people to get a fatty liver. And some people can get a fatty liver without drinking. They just eat a bunch of fatty foods, things like that. And poor diet can get you a fatty liver as well. But the most common one is because people drink. And so in about 10 years of heavy drinking, that's like 8 drinks a week for a woman, about 15 for a man. Men have more water in their body, more muscle, so their body composition allows them to drink a little bit more because alcohol can be diluted uh, in their bodies. So, so drinking for a period of about 10 years can lead to a cirrhosis, can lead to a scarred liver. That's what a cirrhosis. That's what cirrhosis is: a scarred liver, a liver that was once inflamed, which we call hepatitis. And then when the inflammation heals, it be heals as a scar. So just to kind of wrap that back up again, so you can get a fatty liver, then you can get the toxic effects of what alcohol does to the liver. And people get really sick when their liver is damaged. Okay, they get really sick. They get yellow eyes, yellow skin. They get this bloated belly. They can get confusion from ammonia levels high. It's really bad. And most of the time, I talk to people, they always have some family member who died from cirrhosis of the liver. Okay, and it was always a sad death. It was always so terrible, and many of them just drank, for years and years, just drank and never sought out medical care, never sought out treatment. And so Murray says, wouldn't it be something if they move all the liquor stores to the county or no man's land? Ah, Murray, that would be great, but people would find some way to make liquor. They'd be in their backyard cooking up something. In jail they would make liquor out of banana peelings, and it would be so toxic. One of the first patients I took care of in the 80s, he was blinded from drinking alcohol made from banana peeling, and it caused him to go blind. He told me that story. I never forgot it. That was 1985. Yeah, taking all the alcohol away would be great, but the sad reality is when we had alcohol illegal, um, Americans wanted alcohol. From 1920 to 1933, with Prohibition, alcohol was illegal. Americans wanted it. You had Al Capone; these were gangsters getting it to Americans. We were going to like trying to get it from other countries. And finally, our country just decided to make it legal. We had a financial problem. We had the Great Depression. And so we legalized alcohol in 33. Amazingly, 2 years later, Alcoholic Anonymous was formed. 2 years later, after alcohol was legalized, uh, Alcoholic Anonymous, AA, that we know, was formed. So, God knew that, what we're going to have a problem. So he got Alcoholic Anonymous on board, and it's been there ever since to kind of help people struggling with alcohol. Trisha says, Murray, when you are addicted, they will find substitutes or another. Yes, yes, they will. People will find it. People will find it. There's something about that whole pleasure, that whole release of dopamine, all these chemicals that just really makes folks feel good. People will seek it out. And I'm going to tell you, no matter what drug people use, marijuana, alcohol, cocaine, fentanyl, opioids, they all have one thing in common. They make them feel good, or they make them not feel bad. Sometimes when people don't have drugs, in order to not feel bad, they have to go back and get drugs so they don't have withdrawals. But they can break that cycle by going into a detox, by making a phone call, getting into a hospital, and getting some medicines to make them comfortable while they transition from the poisons on the street into a more stable life. So they have to be willing to say, okay, I'm not going to go to Jimmy's bar. I'm not going to get the liquor. I'm not going to go down the alley, get the fentanyl. I'm going to go at Bayview, Mercy Hospital somewhere and get detoxed off of this. And some people do make that choice. They do be patient enough to get themselves into treatment. But folks really can't do it on their own. It's hard to kind of try to do it on your own. Murray says they feel stupid. They feel stupid. Period. Yeah. It's a tough one. You know, addiction is a really tough one. It's hard to explain, like, why would a person get up at 2 in the morning and walk the streets of Baltimore knowing that they could be hurt and harmed for substance? You know, how can a sub? I heard a guy say that he really had no choice over using. It called him. He said it called him, and and he answered it. But I said to him, I said, when it called you, couldn't you have chosen to go to a hospital and not respond to the feeling that you were seeking after? And he said, no, he had to go get the drug. So I don't really believe that it made him do that. I believe the call was strong, but he still had a choice in the matter. You know, the day we say that we have no ability to have our will to say no, then we're in trouble. I mean, even the great God Himself Almighty still has to get our choice. You know, choose ye this day who you're gonna serve. I mean, we choose if we're gonna serve the Lord, if we're gonna go to church, if we're gonna read His Word, if we're gonna pray. And so it's the same with drugs and alcohol. We make a choice. We decide. You know, I'm feeling shaky. You know, I'm going to go up to Hi Hats somewhere and get me a drink, or I'm gonna make a call and get somebody to pick me up and take me to detox. I mean, these are choices. These are choices. And sometimes when the consequences add up, people make those choices. You know, when the family is leaving, the job is at stake, people make the choice to turn it around, you know. When they see that, you know what, this isn't going the right way. And they make that choice to do better, to do better. And then you got some people who are being enabled. Families are feeding them, housing them, clothing them, while they're in your basement getting high and drinking. Well, they're not likely to ever like stop, because I mean you've made it very pleasant for them. And so groups like Al-Anon, and here's another one. Nar-Anon is a great one too. These are organizations that that help people. Nar-Anon, they help people understand addiction. It help people who are naive. You know, substance users, alcohol users are very clever. Okay, I mean they're skilled, crafty people who know how to pervert the truth. They know how to convince you. I mean, they can cry. You know, they can look sad. They can do all these things because they have worked. They have worked. They've given them the outcomes that they've needed, right? And so, um, you're moved, you're compelled. You're like, I had to help them. Well, when you go to organizations like Nar-Anon and Al-Anon, you learn like how to not be manipulated, how to not be taken advantage of. Believe it or not, these same behaviors happen in treatment. Patients try to do that with counselors and nurses who are well trained, who have seen addiction for many years. Okay. I've been seeing addiction for over 28 years. I've been at Hopkins for 18 years. But there's always something new. I mean, it's always a new story, a new line, okay? Because the motivation to get what I want is so strong that people really will do the work. You know, they really will put in the hustle. But I want you to not be naive. I don't want you to be in the dark. I want you to find help for yourself. So that's why I know I'm called to the parents and loved ones of people who use, as well as the people who use. I mean, that's who God called me to, and so that's who I can really minister to the best, because that's just where my heart is. That's just where my heart is, and so that's what I try to do. I got on here to talk about I blacked out, I passed out, but I got led in a lot of different directions. But I hope it's been helpful. I hope that what I've been sharing has been helpful to you or somebody you know. Sometimes the people that watch this show or listen to this video, they don't have a problem at all. It's the one they love have a problem. It's the one that they sleep with, you know. And Mary says, "Have you ever gotten anyone to stop drugs?" Absolutely, Mary. I've gotten. I mean, I want to say in my career, I probably have worked with thousands of people, and I've seen hundreds of them get free. Okay, I don't know. I won't say thousands of them get free because I mean, but a good percentage of them I've seen get free and stay free. You know, I've run into people all kind of places, and they come up to me, Mr. Joe, you know, and they don't have to say a word. They don't have to say, Mr. Joe, I ain't using. They just look. I say to them when I see them, you look good. You really, really look good. They know what I'm saying, and nobody else around us really know because I won't, you know, put their confidentiality out there. But the person knows that I'm saying, I see that you look good is a sign that you're doing well. Now, if you can fake it looking this good, then you've done a great job. But usually what they'll come back and say to me is that, yeah, you know, I'm still in there, I'm still hanging in there, which is saying I'm still recovering. I'm still doing what I got to do, Mr. Joe. And that's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. So yeah, Mary, I've seen hundreds of people who, God bless you, keep doing what you're doing. Yes, thank you. Yeah, I see them and I'm so happy. And they know I'm happy. They know that I'm so happy to see them. I mean, I saw a gentleman not so long ago, and they were actually coming into treatment. They were coming back to treatment. And they said, "Can I shake your hand?" I said, "Sure." They said, "Can I just give you a hug?" And I said, "Yeah. Come on, give me a hug." And they said, "Thank you so much." You know, here's somebody who was coming back. So that meant they had been out there, they were coming back to treatment. But they were so happy to see my face, to embrace me and thank me, even though their life was in the shambles. I mean, they were picking their life back up again, but they were so happy to be able to see me, maybe others, that a handshake wasn't enough, folks. They wanted a hug. They said, can I give you a hug?" Because people will realize this. They will come to the realization you care. Someone asked me on an interview, like, what's an addiction nurse, addiction counselor? And the first thing I said was someone who cares. You have to care. You have to care that this person needs to be free. Your heart has to be that you want them free, that you want them away from the substance, you know, delivered, no longer bound. And if you have that kind of heart for people, you belong in the field of addiction treatment. You belong in this field. But if you are just getting a dollar, getting a check, you really don't belong in this field. Because if you don't have the heart and the care for someone who's struggling, someone who's been through hell, then this isn't the field. I took a class at Dundalk, and the teacher said something I'll never forget. He said, 2 things you need to have in this field. You need to have a caring heart and be knowledgeable. He said, if you're knowledgeable and you care, he said, you'll impact people. And he was so true, my God. It was so true. If you care and you take the time to learn about the drugs and how they affect people and all that kind of stuff, and you can impart information to people and help them understand better. And when someone says, I didn't know that, thank you, I know that now, that's powerful, people. That's powerful. You know, it's like when your pastor stand up there and they show you that they love you, and they giving you the word of God that can mature you and grow your faith and make you stronger. I mean, you just feel all good all inside. Same way that happens in treatment, folks. Same way it happens in treatment. And I've come to realize it's ministry. It's ministry. When I go to work, it's ministry. When I do my side business, it's ministry. When I'm on YouTube, Facebook, podcast, it's ministry. It ain't I'm not in a pulpit, but I'm in a pulpit here. I got my microphone right here. See, I ain't got no organ playing behind me, but it's ministry. It's ministry. You see, God has people in different areas to do ministry. Everybody can't be in the pulpit. You know, everybody can't be police officers. Everybody can't be school teachers. There's so many areas that God has need of. The harvest is plenty, but the laborers are few. Matthew 9:35. The laborers are few. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of harvest. There's a lot of souls. A lot of lives need to be changed. But you gotta get some workers. So he said, pray to the Lord of the harvest that he will send out workers into the vineyard. And so that's what that is. So yeah. So this is ministry. This is ministry. Yep. And uh I take it seriously. I take it seriously because I'm so glad you asked that, Mary. People, I see people change. I see them change. And I see them sometimes, in the process about to get themselves together. Sometimes they fall down, but I see them saying, "I'm going to get back up. I'm going to get back up," and they get it together. They turn it around. They don't just cry, stay in the mud. They get out of that mud and get themselves cleaned up, turn their life around. So it happens. It really happens. And so I'm just honored. I'm just honored. I just give God praise for allowing me to be able to do what I do. And it's just a blessing. It's just a true and honest blessing. So I want to thank you. If any more comments or questions, I'm here. If you got a comment or question, I've been having a great time. Great time. Usually I got a bunch of uh, graphics and pictures and all that kind of stuff. I ain't don't have much of any of that tonight, but I'm still having a good time. I'm still having a good time. So yeah. If you got a question, comment, I'm here. I'm live. I'm right here. I'm live. Ask it now. Let me know. We still got a few more minutes on the clock. Uh, yeah, let me know what you got. What you got. So appreciate you tuning in. Appreciate you checking out the YouTube, the Facebook. I really do appreciate it. Who would have thought that this 16-year-old who blacked out and passed out will be now sharing his testimony, will be now telling people the dangers of alcohol use and how it brings your alcohol level up, how it can make you pass out, choke off your vomit, cause your heart to stop working, cause your breathing to stop, put you in the alcohol poisoning, throw you into a coma, cause you death. Who would have ever thought? Only God knew. Only God knew. He truly directed my steps, folks. He truly directed my steps. And he's the reason I'm here. He's the reason I'm here. Not what they say, not by power, not by might, but by his spirit is how I'm here. Is how I'm here. The Lord Spirit. God did all the leading. Father, I just want to thank you for this opportunity to share. Thank you for your your spirit, oh God. It's by your spirit. God, may this video touch the lives of people that need it the most. May they lose the desire to drink or use drugs. God, may they make a turnaround. May they repent, oh God. May they say, I don't want to do this anymore. This isn't beneficial anymore to my life. And God, I just give you the glory and honor. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. All right. Chris said, wait a minute. Did any one of those people that you have saved gotten a job that you know of? Oh, yeah. Some of them got a good job. I told you where some of those people work at, you'd say, what? Got good jobs. You better be careful. Places you go, you never know what their history, what their story might be. Some of them got really good jobs, folks. They really get it together. Christopher said, how much does anxiety and depression cause people to drink according to statistics? So they believe about 50%. They believe that 50% of the people with anxiety and depression or mental illness um, is a cause of them using drugs and alcohol. So it's sort of like half and half, you know. Then the question is, well, do drugs and alcohol make you depressed and anxious? Yeah, about 50% of that too. So it's like a half and half kind of rule that circulates out there for statistics. So having depression or anxiety can um, ca- cause a 50% chance that you will um, lead down the road of drugs and alcohol. Because sometimes what people do is they self-medicate. They use drugs, they use alcohol to deal with their depression, deal with their anxiety. I mean, those things work really quick. Antidepressants take weeks to work. Anti-anxiety medicine takes a few days to work. But drugs work right away. A drink, but then in half an hour, right? You know, you're gonna be good. So, but those are not good medicines or good treatments for depression and anxiety. You know, that's what we call self-medicating. So, Mr. Christopher, people who do that are not really doing the best for themselves by treating a depression or anxiety with drugs or alcohol. And so, anybody that's doing that, you know, stop that. Get yourself into a psych outpatient center. Go get some counseling from your pastor. Not everybody needs to take medicine, but some people do. Some people do need to take it for a period of time. You just have to do what works for you. Like Malcolm X said, by any means necessary. You just got to do what works for you. And so, but don't use alcohol and drugs to treat a mental illness. Okay, don't use it to cope with life. It's just not good. Okay, it's called maladaptive coping. It's not good coping skills. So um, take my advice. I've seen it, and it doesn't work. So I hope that answered your question, Christopher. Mary said that's a blessing. All right. Well, thank you. Appreciate you, folks. I've had a wonderful time tonight, and I'll be back in 2 more weeks. My wife will join me next time. She comes the fourth Thursday, and I do the second. Now, I don't know why I'm telling people because then they might say, "Well, I ain't coming," you know, because he gonna, you know, I don't know, but it's all right. I'm just sharing anyway. Yeah, so that's how we do it. Twice a month, second and fourth at 7 p.m. So she'll be back with me as my guest. You all know she gives me such a time when she gets on here. So we'll have a great show for you. We'll have a good time talking and just trying to be the best. Okay, good night. All right, my sister. Have a good one. Thank you all for your comments. I really, really appreciate it. Again, have a good evening. Have a wonderful night. Thank you.